All right, fantastic. Hey, welcome everybody. Really great to have you here and so stoked to be on the call with Christine. Now, the first thing I'll say is you're probably noticing I do have a bit of a funny accent. Christine and I were just having a laugh about that before everyone else jumped on board. I am a New Zealander, so that's where that funny accent's coming from. I thought I'd jump in there and share that straight away. Christine and I were saying, it's funny, there's a few things I say sometimes, funny expressions, isn't it, Christine? What did I say before? I was saying, cool bananas.
I've never heard that before.
I love that.
Like, wait, that's like a phrase that you guys say over there. So yeah.
It is. It totally is. I love that. Awesome. Hey team. So what we're going to do is I'm going to be going through and we're going to do a short intro because some of you might be like, who's this Kiwi guy? Or some of you might be wondering who Christine is. So we're going to do a short introduction and then we're going to jump into some creative business tips. I'm going to take you through them and then we're going to be answering a few questions, jump into a few things after that as well. So perhaps Christine, we'll get you to just share briefly a little bit more about yourself and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, so I am a full-time artist and surface designer. I've been doing this now for, when was 2008? Many years. I went to art school, but I didn't learn most of the stuff about this business until I was really in it. And now that the world has changed so much, it's like, I have been learning about how to run a business as I'm going, and I love sharing how this business has grown. And really glad to have met Logan because he's helping me figure things out that I wish I had figured out 10, 15 years ago. And I licensed my artwork to major retailers. I sell most of my art on Etsy and my website. Yeah, I've been painting for 20 years. I started in high school, so it's just my passion and it's my life. So I'm really glad to be doing what I do, and I'm really glad to have met Logan so he can help me figure out some of the bits and pieces of things, I guess. He's building the foundations back to where they should be, is what I feel like.
And sometimes it's that pivot, right? Like it's just that pivot of going, we need to start looking at things differently as well. So I love that. Yeah. Awesome. So I'm going to do a bit of an intro next as well. And welcome if you just joined us.
Amy's welcome. Here. She's my friend.
Fantastic. So great to have you here, Amy. So look, I'm perfect timing because I'm going to do my intro as well. So look, my name's Logan. I am working with Christine as her creative business coach. Now, my background is kind of interesting in that funnily enough, did a science degree. A lot of people don't realize this, is that my first degree was in biotechnology and a little bit of business, but my passion was in creativity and the arts. So I actually got involved in performing, a bit of a funny background. I got involved in costumes and circus and some really quite out there stuff, playing with fire. And what actually happened was I had a hobby doing that. And I wanted to learn more about business. I was kind of interested in this idea of building community and growing in business in the creative space, in the art space. So I actually went on and did an entrepreneurship business master's and eventually turned my hobby, this performing stuff, into a business, right? So it was a company that I ran for amazingly 11 years in New Zealand, amazing creative entertainment company, and basically grew that New Zealand wide, built a team, had 100 performers performing across the country. So things really grew over that time period. And I've always been really passionate about the creative space, especially the visual space as well. What then happened over the years was that I ended up getting involved in more of the education space, right? So what actually happened was people started asking me like, hey, you're on this creative business journey. That's cool. Can you come along and speak? And I was like, yeah, sure. I love to speak and talk to people, see how I can help. And that sort of evolved. Eventually, I started working with the universities across New Zealand. So I started running programs for them, helping with their master's programs, summer accelerators, because the thing that I got really good at, or am really good at, is basically blending the creative arts part of the world and the business side, and really bridging those gaps, right? So I'm really passionate about business, but I'm also passionate about creativity and the arts, which, I guess is something we often see is quite unique. There's not many people that work in that space. So sort of fast forward, eventually I actually sold my creative entertainment company and I decided I wanted to go full-time more into education. How do I help How can I contribute to other people growing their businesses, right? So I've been doing it for a number of years. I've been doing a lot of contracting, running programs, stuff with universities. So I started actually developing my own programs and then got into business coaching, working with people one-on-one initially, some group programs as well. But that sort of just evolved and evolved and evolved. And it grew to the point where now what I do full-time is I actually run creative business coaching programs. So that's what I do through my business. My brand is called Flammable Entrepreneur, which is a really fun brand. But yeah, I basically really have sort of focused on how can I help people to grow their business? How can I help them with the business side in their creative area? So all of my clients I work with are actually in the visual creative space, right? There's fine artists, there's graphic designers, illustrators. I've also worked with furniture flippers and some writers and some variations within that, but most of the people I work with are in that creative space. In terms of where my clients are, they are, well, they're around the world, but most of them are actually based in the US or in Canada. So about 90% of my clients I work with are there. And then I have a number that are across Europe. People are always saying, you must have lots of clients in New Zealand, Logan. And I go, well, surprisingly, I don't. Occasionally I do, but it's pretty rare. And that's because of the other brief thing I'll share, which is that I do run my business full-time remotely. So I do travel the world month to month, usually spending usually a few months in each location, primarily between the US and Europe, but I do sometimes spend some time in South America as well. So right now I'm actually on the call from Naples in southern Italy. So I'm here for a bit to enjoy a bit of that European summer as well as that. So I tend to set up, have an apartment, have an office that I can work from. Sometimes I take a little bit of time off, but right now I'm in full work mode, but then I get to explore the beautiful Italian countryside on the weekends and things like that as well. So lots of fun. Hey, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to really dive in, because what we wanted to do was really share some tips and things that can really support you on your creative business journey. Some people have joined from Christine's audience, some have joined from my audience. Christine is someone that we connected with earlier this year, and basically went, hey, let's look at how I can help Christine. So she is one of my clients that I've been working with to help grow her business and really take things forward within that as well. The people I tend to work with are actually at all different stages. So I work with some people who are right at the start of the journey. Maybe they've been doing this for a year or two, through to people like Christine who've just been doing this for a lot longer. So, you know, big variation of people I work with, all in that visual creative space. Right, I want to kick into it because I've got some good stuff that we're going to dive into here. So the first one here is really about diving into this concept of focus, right? So I'm going to take you through three things. The first one is about focus, because this is something that I see with all of my clients. Everyone struggles with. I sometimes struggle with it as well. I've seen that over the years and have worked out strategies around this. Now, what typically happens is highly creative people, they get shiny object syndrome. Right, it's something that's very common, right? Oh my God, there's this thing here, I could do that, and I could do that, and we've got lots of ideas, lots of hobbies, we're interested in things. We can see the opportunities, we can see the possibilities, and we love that. What tends to happen is we jump around a lot, right? We lose focus, we jump around, we get distracted, okay? And this happens a lot. Now, what's interesting about that is it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's actually part of our creativity. So what we can sometimes do is, if we stifle that, actually we could stifle our creativity. So there's a balance. It's not just about saying do one thing, right? It's going, hey, what are the things that I want to be focusing on right now? Okay, so often it's about priorities. One way I kind of think about it is like, what are you going to focus on in the next month or two? All these other ideas, I love them. They're awesome. How can we focus on them next? How can we have a plan? So we go, okay, cool, let's focus on these things here. Absolutely. I actually have on my Trello, on my to-do list, I have like an ideas column, right? So any ideas I come up with, I fire them in there. I'm logging them, I'm collecting them. But I know right now I'm not going to pursue them because I have some other stuff that I'm focusing on. So honestly, it's kind of interesting because there's two sides. It's part of our creativity is to see trends and notice different things and be kind of jumping around a bit, but also part of it is a challenge. And it's almost a negative thing because it can distract us. It means that the things that need our energy, need our focus, they don't get it. They get small pieces of our energy, because what we do know is that things need momentum. Things sometimes need time. So part of what I do with my clients is going, hey, what are our priorities? What do we want to focus on? What makes sense right now? And sometimes it may not be the right thing, but it's a thing that we can at least exclude, right? Let's spend a month focused on this thing, go all in. okay, that didn't work. That's okay. We now know what not to focus on. Okay, and that could be a win rather than going, well, I don't know, I'm trying all the things. That's really, really important. So just think about things in blocks or timeframes. Okay, I'm going to focus on this for the next month. I'm going to focus on this for 6 months, whatever that is. Maybe it's around what your offering is, right? Your creative offerings. Maybe it's around the way that you market your business, right? I'm talking quite generally around focus. So it could be what you offer, it could be how you promote, it could be where you put your energy, right? It could be the type of creativity you do. It could be the type of craft that you have. Which one are you going to focus on? A lot of my clients are pretty multifaceted in that they can do this, they can do that, they can also, they're photographers, they're videographers, but they also do art and they do these different things. So sometimes it's just going, let's focus on these things here, which makes sense to focus on first. So that's a big one. Is that something, Christine, that you struggle with sometimes? Is that focus? Like, can you hear your perspective briefly on that?
I was actually just thinking about that because you kind of have taught me that like I focused on one painting that was really detailed and difficult for me to complete. And then once that was done, it was like it was done and on to the next thing. And that was a really helpful way of looking at it because I could kind of pinpoint my focus instead of being all over the map. I just need to pick something, anything.
I love that because sometimes it's not about having the perfect thing. I think we're all trying to track what is the perfect thing I need to do and what is all the indicators. It's like one thing, let's go for it.
Right. Yeah. And I really put my all into it and I'm really excited about it. And it's got a feeling like I'm excited about things when I wake up in the morning.
Oh, I love that. I love it. Yeah. So powerful. Awesome. Thank you for sharing because it's just so cool to hear your perspective on that as well. So I'm going to jump into the next thing. So next thing is kind of an interesting one, confidence and mindset. Right. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this because this is something that I see that holds so many people back. Confidence. First thing I'll say about confidence is that it's just a skill. Now, yes, some people have more confidence than others, right? So some people struggle more than others. They're like, that person's born with confidence. It's like, yes, sometimes there's a bit of that, right? Just the way they were brought up, whatever it is, maybe they start off and they have like a 7 out of 10 confidence kind of off the mark. And other people have like a 2 or a 3. The key thing is that every single person, no matter where you are, can build confidence, can grow confidence. It's just a muscle, it's a skill. If you're a 3, we can get you to a 4. There's things that you can do that can help you grow your confidence. Okay, so that's really important to recognize because as soon as we say, oh, I am not a confidence person, this is the way that I am, it's the way I'll always be, that is true, right? But because we believe it's true. But if we say, actually, maybe I'm not a super confident person, but I can get better. I'm going to grow. I'm going to work on my confidence. So just as we talk about like learning to paint or learning more about our craft or learning to market or learning stuff, whatever it is, we can learn more about growing our confidence. It's just a skill. It's just a muscle that we can grow and we can work on as well. So I'm going to share a couple of thoughts around confidence. And there's 2 things that you can do that can really boost your confidence in the short term. One of them is celebrating wins, right? And Christine and I have some fun on our calls with this. When there's a win to celebrate, we sometimes have a bit of a boogie and we have a bit of a laugh about it. But it's so important that big or small, you celebrate your wins. Now, often from a very young age, maybe we're told, don't gloat, Logan, kind of don't be too loud, don't get too excited. Like maybe you experienced some of that too. Actually, maybe it's just privately we have celebrating our wins, right? Dance around the living room, right? And have a bit of a boogie, put some music on. That is celebrating. It doesn't need to be in front of other people, but also you build a tribe around you that you can celebrate with and who are going to be like, yeah, that's awesome, right? So we're jumping into that thought of how do you build a tribe around you, a support community. These are really important things to celebrate those wins with. Now, small win, big win, doesn't matter, right? Tiny win. Sometimes a win could be just like, you know what? A win today was just getting out of bed and getting up for lunch, getting out of the house, right? That could be a win. I did that. You know what? I didn't do that yesterday, and that's okay. Or it could be like, hey, I sold this piece of artwork, or I brought on this new client in my graphic design business or my illustration, whatever the business is. Great, right? Maybe it's something worth thousands of dollars. Maybe it's worth a few dollars. Maybe it's just that you did something today. Maybe you did 10 minutes worth of yoga. Right? Celebrating wins is really important. It boosts your confidence. It makes you feel good about yourself. The second thing that you can do is do what you say you're going to do. Okay, this is really important, this one here. Do what you say you're going to do. And it's kind of, it's more important that you say it to yourself than anyone else, right? So, you know, those days where you're like, all right, I'm going to get this thing done today. Now, if you don't do it, your subconscious mind tomorrow, when you say, I'm going to do this thing, is going to be like, no, you're not, Logan. Come on, you never do the things that you say you're going to do, right? That actually reduces your confidence, right? So instead, what we need to do is we need to say, hey, if we're saying, I'm going to get this thing done, do it, right? Get it done, and you're going to feel so good. Oh my God, I feel amazing when I've like completed those hard tasks, right? But it is so, so important that you do the things that you say you're going to do. Now, obviously with other people as well. And I'll be honest, part of it is sometimes that we overshoot. Sometimes we say we're going to do things that we just can't do. We don't have the time. We don't have the energy. We don't have the abilities. So we've got to also make sure that we're making realistic goals in terms of what we are going to do, realistic tasks. I'm actually big for goal setting and setting goals high, but the day-to-day tasks, make sure they're achievable, right? Because you're going to feel really good about them. Something we actually do during the coaching with all my clients is we always talk about our 5 actionable things between our calls. What are the 5 things you're going to really get done? And then really supporting them to try and get those things ticked off. So that's a really, really important part of it as well. So I'm going to keep sort of moving through these things, but did you have anything around confidence to sort of add in, Christine, or even just that thought around like how your confidence has grown, you know, recently in terms of the work we've done, things like that? You'll just need to unmute yourself there as well. Yeah. See if you can just unmute yourself. Oh, no, you're good. It might not unmute right now. It's all good. So we'll keep moving along. So I think your mute might have. Oh, there we go. You're good.
There we go. Yeah, I have my Apple Pencil here. I have my fancy iPad, and I'm still getting used to this thing, even though I've had it for a year.
Love it.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, I was thinking about this yesterday. It's like you're reading my mind. It's like we have telepathy at this point. But yeah, I was thinking about this, that I've got to raise my vibration all the time, because if you're thinking about things that are going wrong, if you're thinking about the things that you don't like about your reality right now and focusing on that, it's not going to help. It's not going to move you forward. And, you know, I shifted my mindset specifically yesterday, because I was just like, you know what, I should just be glad about the sunshine. I should just be glad that I can go for a walk right now. I should be glad about just running water, like, you know, simple things, because the world is so difficult right now that it's hard to focus on some of that sometimes. And once I started to do that, little things started going right in my day, just little things. And that's what it is. It's momentum. It's, you know, it's like, if you keep going down and down and down, you're going to keep going that direction. It's like a path. So I love the concept that if you have gratitude, if you have positive energy, you keep going forward in that way. And it's helping to reframe, because you can't, it's easy to be negative. It's easy to worry and be anxious. But if you just take a second to just be like, well, it's cloudy today, but there's blue sky out there a little bit, you know, like that's all you need. Just a little sliver.
I love it. I often think about it as like a spiral, right? So you've either got your downward spiral, we're in the negativity spiral, or we're in the upward spiral. So like that one thing, the piece of blue sky makes you feel slightly better, which makes you focus on something else positive and important as well, which is great.
Yeah,
I love it.
And pinpointing your focus too is like, I'm very distracted all the time. So yeah, focusing on, like we said before, it's focusing on things. It's a game changer.
I sometimes like the way I sometimes think about it, and I might have shared this with you with our coaching, is like sometimes just thinking positively, even if you're not really feeling it, and going, hey, like, look at the blue sky, that's something good.
Yeah.
Maybe all it's doing is just blocking out the negative, right? Even if you feel pretty neutral overall, it's kind of like the voice of negative voices in there. And like, no, look, I'm not saying we should always be positive.
Ignore
look at the challenges, but it's just really going, you know, where do we put our focus? So I love that. I love that. Cool. We're going to keep on keeping on. So I've got our third thing. Then we're going to jump into some questions as well. And if anyone does have questions they want to ask, just fire them into the chat. So when it comes to that section, and we can jump to that. It could be questions for either of us. So we're going to definitely jump into that. And I've got a few questions that people sent in before as well, which is good. So Number 3 here, we've sort of talked about focus, number 1, we've talked about confidence, number 2, and sort of mindset around that as well. And then number 3 is kind of an interesting one that comes up a lot, and it's marketing, right? So one of the big things that I see is, I mention the word marketing to some people and they go, oh, right? It's, marketing, that's tough. So it's tough, so tough. I just want to focus on my creativity. I want to focus on the artwork. I want to focus on what I'm doing, right? So I totally get that. Part of marketing is actually going, hey, how can we come up with ways that are authentically you, right? Authentically you marketing. So this is a very, very important thing, because what happens is you hear people saying, oh, marketing, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do outreach, you must be on social media, you must be on all these things here, right? So actually, you don't have to do anything, right? In the end, it's completely up to you. There is lots of different ways to market. Part of it is going, what is the type of marketing that suits and fits you and your personality? Okay, so yes, there's going to be a stretch. So most marketing isn't going to feel natural straight away. If you have never used social media, or you've barely used it, or you've never used it for business, it's not going to probably feel authentic or natural initially. But actually, you having a go, you spending some time on it, you then find a voice. You then find, hey, this is how I could use this thing. So part of marketing, it's something I talk a lot about in the program, is what is actually experimentation, is what can we do to try some different things, learn a little bit about these different areas, and then find out what really works, right? So for example, try social media, try outreach, try building partnerships, try networking. These are all things that you can try. You can also learn more about them, right? These are all things you can learn more about, and then actually start to look at what would make sense in terms of you and your personality. So one area I often work with people on is, what are we going to focus on with our marketing? What is the core strategy? Because what most people do when it comes to marketing is they try and do everything, right? They have multiple social media platforms. They try and send some emails. They try and network. They try and do this. They try and do that. And it's super overwhelming. And they're like, oh, I don't even like this business stuff. I'm not even going to do this, right? So I'm just going to focus on my artwork. And then the challenge comes. They go, well, I'm not making sales, or I'm not bringing on new clients with my commissions or my freelance work, whatever it is. Actually, it's going, okay, marketing, sure, but what is the core thing? What is the core focus with your marketing? And then the other things support that. So for example, I've got some of my clients, it's Instagram, right? That is their thing. So that means they need to go all in, they need to learn stuff, and they need to find out what parts of it they like, right? That's part of it. Now, others, it's partnerships, right? How do they connect and partner with other people in their business, and more going into that space there. Others, I've also got clients that it's outreach, right? It's them actually direct messaging, maybe it's some email outreach. There's definitely things you can do in that space. And for some people that works very well. But for some people, the worst nightmare is like sending emails, right? It feels spammy, it doesn't feel good. For other people, it's social media. Right, so everyone's slightly different in this space. So part of it is finding what is the marketing that feels good for you, through some trial and error, through some experimentation, and ultimately through just trying, right? Getting out there and just trying some things, seeing what works, learning what doesn't work. That's part of it as well. And sometimes rolling those things out. So just in terms of your marketing, really think about, okay, what are the things that I've tried in the past? And most important, what are the things that have worked? Right, so that's just another point I'll just end on here, is that people often forget what has worked in their business so far, right? If you've already been in business for a while, maybe a year or two, maybe more years, look at where your sales have come from. Where have your clients come from? If they've come from Instagram, you have an opportunity to do more on Instagram. You don't have to, as I said. You may find, oh, I don't know, that doesn't feel good, but generally it's a clue that that's a good area for you to authentically market. Maybe you're like, oh, that's interesting. They've been referred, right? So, okay, well, can you set up some sort of referral program? Can you connect with more people that might refer you opportunities, clients, leads, or whatever you want to call them, right? So just thinking about it in that way. Because marketing, I think when it comes to marketing, we can find it quite overwhelming. So therefore, it's really around how can we focus. Do you have anything to add sort of around that, Christine, when we kind of think about the marketing aspects, and even just thinking about your journey as well?
I mean, I was just saying to you earlier that I really have been looking into YouTube. And it's, as an artist, it's like the way that some of the social media platforms are becoming, it's just very like quick. And I don't work quickly now that I'm getting more skilled and my art is getting more complex. So it's like the platform isn't, and somebody said to me recently too, is that where your clients are hanging out? Figuring out where your people are hanging out online in real life is like a big marketing idea, because if you don't know where they, like, I mean, if I think about it, I don't think that, like, I think of my mom as kind of my target audience, and she doesn't hang out on social media. She doesn't know how it works. She likes to go to events. She likes to go to art fairs. She likes to go to a gallery opening maybe every once in a while. She likes that in-person activity. So it's like you have to put your mind where they are. And then when you think about that, and I think about YouTube as that too, as I've introduced her to YouTube, and she loves it now because she can learn recipes, she can watch artists paint all day, and it's slower. But you have to find, if you make art that's like really energetic, like I'm not an abstract artist anymore most of the time. Sometimes I like to just dabble in that, but I feel like I am a slower person, you know? So yeah, you gotta find your happy place, as Bob Ross might say.
I love it. I love it so much. I think, you know, there's so many good points there. Just like, yeah, where do these people hang out? And like, often I think about the crossover, like, where do people hang out? What is the marketing that makes sense to me? It's authentic, it feels good as well. And we've got to like find those. It's not always clear. I've got some clients that it takes us a while to figure that out. But actually ultimately it's about trying things, getting out there, doing it, not just going, hey, well, that might work, let's think about it. It's like, no, let's try it. Let's take actions.
Go for it. Yeah.
Let's go for it. I love it. Awesome. So what we're going to do now, everyone, is we're going to jump into some questions. So feel free to add anything into the chat if you've got any questions you wanted to ask. As I mentioned, I do have some questions we're going to start with from questions that basically people sent in beforehand. So I'm gonna jump into them because there's some goodies here, and I'll share some thoughts, and if Christine wants to add anything as well. And this one was kind of, I love this one because it was pretty general, which is, what is the biggest challenge you see with clients? Like, what is the thing that pops up again and again? And I'm like, well, lots of different stuff, actually. There's lots of different answers I could focus on, but it still goes back to kind of what I've already mentioned, is that people really struggle with the two sides of the business stuff and the creative stuff. Right. So typically what I see in the conversations I have, the clients I have, etc., is that most people I speak to are really, really good at the not business stuff, it's the creative stuff, right? At their craft, right? So they're really good at their craft. They're really good at what they do. Now, often they're like, I don't know if I am because I'm not making sales, right? Or I'm not growing my business. So surely maybe I'm not that good at my craft, right? And I hear that people say that to me, and I go, hey, you're good at your craft, right? We always need to learn more, right? We can always take more courses. We can always grow our art, you know, try new mediums for sure. Because you're a creative person, that's probably going to happen naturally, right? Organically, you're going to do that. You're out there doing these things. That's good. It's usually on the business side. Biggest challenge is that people do not know, not enough people know you exist. Again and again and again, I'm reminding clients this often, is that the reason why they're not having more sales, more clients, is that not enough people know there exists. So part of our job is we need to figure out the business stuff. We need to put time and energy into that. Obviously, that's why people end up working with me, because they want to focus on this stuff here, right? So that is the challenge that really pops up for people. And I think, you know, it's tough, right? I totally get it, because you're going, well, oh my God, I love the art side. I love the creative side of what I do. Whether you're a graphic designer, whether you're an illustrator, fine artist, whatever it is, you're going, okay, well, the business stuff, it's something I want to avoid. And if I could tell you how many times people have said to me, Logan, can you just do the business stuff for me? Or could I hire someone? How about I hire someone to manage all of that? I love the dream. I love the idea of that, but it's just not how the world works. It's very, very hard to bring someone on to just be doing the business stuff for you, especially early on. Look, as you grow your business, when you hit that mark where you're earning 5 to 10K per month, for sure, you can probably afford to bring someone on to help with some stuff, some social media, perhaps with some outreach, different areas of marketing. But you still need to be able to manage them and direct them and show them what you need to do, right? So it's not necessarily just a handed thing off, because every business is different, there's different needs. So part of it is going, hey, what can I do? And ultimately, some people go, I just hate that stuff. I refuse to do it. I don't want to do it. There's nothing wrong with that, but you've got to recognize that that means this is a hobby, not a business, right? There's nothing wrong with something being a hobby, right? The creative hobbies, I love it, absolutely. But sometimes there's just that check-in of going, hey, if you really want this to be a thing that you're going to grow and that you're going to make a lifestyle out of this, make a life out of this, then you do need to lean into that business stuff, right? And this is obviously why I'm so passionate about it, is I love helping people with that, right? What are the steps we can take? Because it feels scary. Everyone is terrified of it. Everyone's like, oh, it feels cringy. It feels salesy. It feels inauthentic. But when you lean in, you learn, you understand more, there's so much opportunity there that it feels genuine and it feels real, and you get to connect with more people and grow your brand, grow your audience, create more art, create more design. So just really sharing that as well. And yeah, did you have anything to add to that, Christine? Sorry, I did mute you again there as well. But yeah, do you have anything to add around that? Just thinking around sort of challenges around creativity and business.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really bad at doing my books, as we talked about. You know, but I do have that side of my brain that I love math, and I look at it, and I learned this from my friend My Pack. I don't know if you know, she's like been my guru forever, and I'm friends with her, but she runs like a jewelry business, so it has nothing to do with mine. And it was, but you ran a business anyway. Yeah, like I just feel like we're all creative minds. And she said that it's like a video game. If you look at it like it's a game, then it's like you have side challenges and you have goals that you're trying to reach, and you look at it like you're trying to get the most points, and the points are money, you know, like you're trying to succeed, you're trying to win the game. And when you look at it that way, it becomes fun, and it becomes not like all of these little tasks that are business oriented things like taxes and paperwork and all of that stuff. Marketing, it falls in that category. Search engine optimization, it's more like a game, it's more fun when you look at it like it's not just work, I guess. Yeah, so
I love that. Honestly, I think that's such an interesting analogy, and like for some people that can really help them in terms of that focus and the way to view it. So I think that's a really fun idea there. So I love
gamify
that.
it is what they call it. They say gamify.
Yeah, gamification. I love that. Yeah, gamify your work. That's super cool. I love that, like, points instead of money thing is kind of interesting, right? So money, right? You know, there can be some blocks there. So cool. I love that. Cool. I'm going to focus on a couple more things. So I had a question, just like literally around coaching, right? So I'm going to keep it pretty short, but I'm a creative business coach. Someone literally said, like, what is coaching like? What does it even involve? Because most people I work with have never had a coach before, right? They're like, as a creative business coach. So they're like, well, what do you even do? What does it even look like? Right. So I'm going to briefly share that, and then maybe Christine can just briefly share a few thoughts around, you know, what the process has been like for her. Look, the core thing I do is a 3-month coaching program initially. It's basically broken down into areas. We have our one-on-one calls. So we have a call every 2 weeks. We really delve into challenges, opportunities, what are things in the way, what do we need to do to focus things forward. There's a level of accountability, there's a level of support. So I love those calls and being really able to dive deep. It's a lot of what I do, right? I spend a lot of my time on calls with people like Christine and other clients as well. I have about 25 clients I work with at a time. I would love to work with like so many more people, but as you can imagine, time builds up, and you know, that's a pretty good number for what I'm doing. The other component is basically the content, the modules. Right, so every coach is different in terms of how they deliver. Some just do calls. I also have content as well that people watch in their own time over those 3 months. Right, so every week they've got an hour of content they need to work through. There's activities, for example, the pricing masterclass. Right, they watch through that program. Within that, it's about an hour of content that I've created. They work through tasks within that, and then of course we can go deeper in the calls. The other 2 components. One of them is the support in between. Probably my favorite thing is I'm a big believer that when you're a creative business coach, you need to be in people's corner all the time. It's like, it's great. The calls are great. We can jump on there. We can do a lot on our calls. They're every couple of weeks. But what about in between? What about when you have a client you need to send a proposal to? Or what about that day where you feel demotivated? Or what about when you've just got a little thing that you need support with? You kind of need that extra support along the way. So it's something that I did right from the start was I support my clients through, I actually use WhatsApp. I know most of my American clients don't necessarily use WhatsApp, but it's something, some of them see it as their coaching app. That we have a bit of a laugh about that. And then of course, email as well. So it's great because it means they can reach out to me and we can have some communication around that, right? It's really powerful. Yeah, go for it, Christine.
I had like a mini nervous breakdown the other day because there's a mouse in my car, ants in my computer monitor, and just like it seems like my world is exploding. I sent Logan a message and he was so sweet, and I just feel like, you know, you're in my corner. Like it just things have been, I feel like the universe is just conspiring to make me change everything about my life, and you're kind of like my angel that swooped in. And I said that when I first started working with you, that like you really are, you're helping me see everything that I need to fix and everything that I needed to change. And I'm very thankful for you. And you are there all the time. So
it's kind of interesting because, you know, one of the things I see with coaching is people think it's about the content, right? I want to learn about pricing. I want to learn about it, for sure, right? That's part of it. We have those conversations. So much of it is about mindset. So much of it is about the extra support. And it's not just about the like, what do I need to do? It's like, it's being able to have chat through of like, I'm having a rough day. Things are not working in my business. I don't know what to do, right? Like me being able to go, hey, here's some thinking. Let's get focused on this. Here's what we can do. Sometimes what I do with all of my clients, sometimes I just listen, right? Sometimes part of my job is just listening so they can share. And then maybe I share a perspective back as well. So I love that. And so very kind of you to share those things as well, Christine. So look, the final piece I'll share within that before we go into our final question is that something I also have is our community calls. It's actually something that's very, very new, which we're going to be adding into the coaching program soon. I've always just wanted to have more ways for my clients to connect with each other, right? It's something that, you know, is going to be a new addition. So I don't think I've actually told Christine about this because it's very new. She's like, what are we doing? What? So that's something we're going to add in as well, which is have a community call every 2 weeks where people get to connect with each other, people who are on the current program or recently finished. So there you go, Christine. There's something I hadn't quite told you yet because it's coming up soon. I love that. Awesome. So look, the final piece I want to share is basically just around, you know, what should I be focusing on around social media? Algorithms change. I'm frustrated. It's a narrative. It's a conversation that's coming up a lot. And I'm going to give a different perspective because we could sit here and moan and talk about the algorithms and how annoyed we all are and things like that. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you another perspective, which is our job as business owners, creative business owners, is to adapt. Things are going to change. It's frustrating, yes, but we need to go, okay, well, what do I need to do? What do I need to learn? A new features come out on Instagram or this platform. We can get frustrated about, oh my God, everything's changing and this is so annoying. We can spend lots of energy doing that, right? A ton of energy, talking to our friends, going on about it. Instead, why don't we put that energy into go, okay, another thing to figure out, I'm going to figure it out. There's usually lots of great videos online about new features, new things. Part of our job is to learn, adapt, move forward with those things. So maybe that wasn't quite what you're expecting. Maybe you're waiting for me to go, right, what everyone needs to do is you need to get on this new platform thing, right? Sometimes, yes, you might want to try some other things, but just remember that sometimes you need to just follow, learn, figure things out as well and adapt. These platforms, I think it's important to recognize that they are going to evolve, all of them, right? And yes, we blame the platform. The reality is most of these platforms are free. We're so lucky to have them. And when we flip that around and think about it in that way, we're like, oh, wow, okay. Like we think we deserve these platforms, right? And well, be honest, we're not paying for them, right? So actually part of our job is we need to adapt with them. Okay. And we go, well, yeah, but you know, they're just trying to get paid. It's like, well, yeah, they are businesses. And maybe we argue about, well, you know, they're kind of mega businesses, questionable sometimes, right? I totally get that side. But let's just more focus on the fact that we need to adapt sometimes with them. And just go, okay, well, this is a free platform. You know, like 20, 30 years ago, these things were barely around. Some of them were early stage, but there weren't the opportunities. So now we have these opportunities as small business owners to reach a wider audience. The idea that you can create a reel on Instagram, put some time and energy into it and have like thousands of people viewing it, right? I have a client who had has less than 1,000 followers, and she did a reel the other day and got 30,000 views, right? That is an insane idea that's even possible. Okay, if you think about that in terms of what it took to get 30,000 views of anything, you used to have to get on the radio or on TV, and you used to have to spend a lot of money. She did not spend any money. She did that. She recorded on her own phone. She put it together. She edited it. Yes, there was some great thinking behind it. I love that. But just really focusing on the opportunity of that. So, right, I get frustrated with the algorithms as well and the changes, but let's just keep that positive focus around that as well. Do you have anything to add around that one, Christine, just around the social media and the sort of the focus there?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically, you just summed up my whole frustration lately, but I've been reframing it. And I mean, I grew up with parents who owned a business, so I saw them they always had to adapt. They always had to learn new things. And I also loved the stage of my life where I was learning. And I realize now that like, that's part of my personality, that I just love learning new things. And so I look at it less like it's a burden. And I mean, most of the time, but more like it's, an opportunity for growth and an opportunity to I would be bored otherwise. So, and yeah, like right now I'm learning how to use my fancy new camera that I just got. It's like, I don't know how to use this thing at all. And I'm trying to learn how to video edit and stuff like that. And it's like, maybe I should look at it like it's an opportunity. It's not necessarily, because what do they say? What is that phrase? The time will pass anyway. So
time will pass anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just like, I can't keep doing the same things. I would be bored. And the algorithms are going to change. Like you said, it's free. And I never really, when you just said it, I never really thought about the fact that we should be lucky to have these things, because in the past, I've met older people who have tried to get into the art world, and they have said to me, when I was your age, we had to walk into a gallery and present our portfolio. There were no emails. There were no digital files. It was just like, you had to do the footwork or you had to go to an art fair and actually sit there. And I've done those too, which they can be great if you enjoy sitting there in the heat in the summer for hours. But it's to each their own, but we have these options now. We have so many options and so many things that we can try and just see what works. So
I love that.
It's an exciting time, I guess, if you reframe it.
Reframing, I think, is a really powerful word there, which is sometimes we just need to reframe things, because once again, we can get frustrated, we can get demotivated, we can get negative around these things, but what can we do? Right? What can we do? What is a positive action we can move forward on? Awesome. Hey, it's been so great to connect with everyone here, and thanks for tuning in as such. I know some people will be watching the recording of this as well, so just mindful of that too. Look, what I'm going to just briefly share before we wrap up in the next few minutes is something really exciting that we've decided to do with Christine's audience, which is I'm going to be giving away some freebie coaching calls. Right? So this is something I would love to do more of. I don't always have lots of time to do that, but we're going to be giving away 5 freebie coaching calls. These are 30-minute one-on-one calls with me. Now, what we'll be doing in Christine's newsletter is basically sharing the link to how to enter that. It's to fill in. It's basically a survey. It takes about 5 minutes to fill in. It's also a really good way to learn more about your gaps in your creative business. It's something I've created to help people figure out their gaps. I'm going to throw it into the chat for anyone here. So that link's not working so well, so we'll use a different one. That's the link you want. So there we'll go. So what we will do is we'll make sure we include that in the email with this recording as well. So you can click that. But look, would love to chat to you. Enter that in there, and basically I'll pick 5 people to jump on those 30-minute one-on-one coaching calls with in the coming weeks. So those are things we'll do over the next 4 weeks. So really looking for people who are visual creatives, need some help, love to connect with you. There's no pressure to work with me or anything like that. If it makes sense, we can explore what that is, but just really wanted to make sure I'm giving as well and helping support people, including people in Christine's audience. So it should be good, huh, Christine?
I mean, I remember when I first came across you, and you spoke with me for a few, that I think it was one of those initial calls, and I was just like, what am I doing? And you ever since then, I feel like everything's kind of coming into clarity. It's just so, and it was really nice of you to just help
Mm.
at first. Yeah. So, and I'm really glad that I decided to work with you now because everything's changing. Everything is getting way better.
I love it. I love it so much. Hey, it's been so, so great. And thanks, Christine, for inviting me along and getting on the call together. It's just been super lovely to connect, share some ideas. Thank you, everyone that's joined us or is watching the recording. It's been super fun. And, there's usually one or two things you'll get out of call like this. So just really, really keep focused on what is the thing that can just help you a bit more in terms of moving forward. Obviously, if you're, interested in filling out the survey, the link, absolutely would love to connect with you as well. And, perhaps we'll end up working with you like I'm Christine, or even just connecting, because I always love connecting with more awesome visual creative people as well. So there we go. Awesome. It's my evening now, so we're always having a good laugh when I jump on the call with Christine. I'm like morning, afternoon, evening, but it is my evening. I think it's now. Is it your afternoon yet? I think it is, Christine.
It's 2. Yeah, it's almost 2. I'm thinking it's 7 p.m. there ish.
Yeah, almost 8 p.m. So there we go. Hey, thank you everyone for joining. We're going to wrap things up, and we'll go from there. Awesome. Yeah. Cool. Take care, everyone. See you. Bye. Take care.